A quick piece of channel business, and we will get right to the news of the day regarding Venezuela. I'm sure many of you are aware that the Florida Maquis does psychological operations training at patreon.com. A couple of days ago, I made a video for my patrons, letting them know that patreon.com would be coming to an end. We are going to continue doing the training, however. We are just going to do it at YouTube. I do 7 days a week videos regarding Antarctica, the issues in Venezuela, and the prison crisis. On top of that, I was doing 5 videos a week regarding the training. So 12 videos a week was a lot. YouTube rolled out a couple of months ago this thing called channel memberships. And for those of you that don't want to participate in the psychological operations training, absolutely nothing is going to change for you. You are never going to be required to pay any kind of a fee to watch those 7 videos that I do a week. I try to do 7, sometimes I take a day off. But as far as the psychological operations training goes, at Patreon, we had 5 different levels. 1, 5, 10, 15, and 20. 3 levels of training, 2 levels of discussion. At YouTube, there's going to be one level only, $5 a month. We have done over 150 training videos, and I'm going to begin to migrate those videos over to the membership side. And for those of you that would like to see what we have been training on, feel free. For $5 a month, you will have access to professional level psychological operations training. I think I have related before that this was my job in the Army. I was not in the Navy. Some people think I was in the Navy because of the Fitzgerald thing. I'm Army. Was many years ago. So, point being, the ideas of psychological operations training are based on the 24 basic cognitive biases that all human beings have and the 24 logic fallacies that they lead to. Now, our media, our mainstream media, are masters at combining these biases and fallacies to make you believe and see things that aren't there, that are not true. And this has been a lot of what I have tried to reveal in the issue with, well, first with the Fitzgerald and now with Venezuela. So when you go to my homepage on YouTube, there'll be a little button that says join. It's $5. Like I said, if you want to continue the training, fantastic. If not, if you haven't been participating, nothing's going to change for you. I just wanted to let my patrons know that that's what's going to be happening. For those of you that would see that button, I didn't want you to worry and think, oh no, do I have to pay $5 a month to see the Florida Maquis? No, you don't. You will not have to. Of course, you won't have access to the training videos, but we're also going to put over there at the $5 a month level, I have about 30 videos that YouTube has demonetized. That as soon as a video gets demonetized, I set it to private. Meaning that they're not going to have access to my content if they're not going to reimburse me for it. Because I have a monetization agreement with them. And it goes both ways. So if you would like to have access to those as well and see videos that no one else has seen ever, that will be over there at that site as well. Now, speaking of psychological operations training and how it regards Venezuela. Education produces discomfort always. Indoctrination produces comfort. So if you're watching news, if you're watching information that whenever you go there, you're like, oh yeah, that's great, woohoo, and you're rooting for yourself as soon as you get there, it's probably indoctrination, not education, because education is uncomfortable. That's why a lot of what I reveal about the situation in Venezuela makes people think twice, maybe 3 times. There is information out now, and this is infodefensa.com, that the U.S. has been probing certain Colombian contractors in the northeastern part of Colombia, northwestern part of Venezuela. And it's a very sparsely populated region. There's not much up here other than a very key coal power loading site near a strategic airport. So if this kicks off, it's more than likely going to kick off right here. So this is Socom that is doing this, Special Operations Command. So this could be Navy, this could be Army, perhaps even Air Force. We don't know. But one of the fallacies that the U.S. has tried to make you believe is this. The reason that they want to depose the dictator Maduro is because there were no free and fair elections, blah, blah. That's why they're not recognizing this last election. Well, one of the concepts of a free and fair election is that the election not take place under duress. Well, the economic sanctions that started back in 2014 put the entire country of Venezuela under duress, meaning that there's one group of people that are voting basically because they feel that there needs to be a change in their government because of an outside force, the U.S. And the allegation from the other side is that the reason there are people voting for Mr. Maduro is because he provides benefits for them. And they feel like if they wouldn't, that they wouldn't get the benefits. That's this carnet de patria thing. It's this card issued by the government that gives you your benefits. Well, we have that here. We have duress here. We have government that provides all sorts of benefits to people, and a lot of people vote based on that. In fact, wasn't one of the reasons the last election, the current administration got voted in is because they were trying to keep jobs here. They went to a Carrier air conditioning plant and said, you know what, if I'm president, then, you'll be able to keep your business here and all this kind of stuff. See, there's all sorts of decision-making processes that go on in people's mind. But what happened with our election was internal. It was internal forces working with Venezuela. It was external. The entire country was placed under duress and under stress by an outside force that had means, motive, and opportunity to do so. So speaking to random guy named Juan and some woman named Machado, if you are really interested in free and fair elections, if you really believe that there needs to be new elections, what you need to do is you need to tell the U.S. government to lift all of the sanctions and restore things to as they were prior to 2014. Fix the issue with the hyperinflation. Get everything back to the way it was before the U.S. decided it wanted to interject its opinion financially into the elections. And then have your election. Go ahead and run whoever you want to. But the idea that it would be free and fair now, with the U.S. basically picking a side and creating a stress on the entire population, is not free nor fair. It literally argues with the definition of free and fair. And I think a lot of my audience will understand this. How can you possibly have free and fair elections with the entire population under duress, one direction or the other? You can't have outside forces like this. I don't know how anyone could recognize the results of such an election if it were to occur. It would literally mean that the U.S. would pick what the proper circumstances are for an election for another country. How would that work if it was China and the United States, or Russia and Japan, or any other two countries, just pick any two, where one was causing grief and problems and stress and heartache and headache in one group of people inside that country, with the hopes of causing another group to take power? If that country internally has that going on, that's up to that country. That happened here. The folks on the right make the allegation that all of these benefits that the Democrats promise are basically voters being bought. Okay. Well, you could make the allegation with the things that the current administration said it was going to do. Visiting businesses and saying that, if I'm president, I will make your life a lot easier to stay in this country. Sounds like a bribe when you're doing it to one and not all. See, if the current leadership had gone to all air conditioning companies and said, if you vote for me, I will make life better for all of you, that's not picking winners and losers. But when our current administrator went to one specific one and said, I will change the rules for you, specifically you, this one, and not the others, that's the same thing. And I wanted to bring that up because we have a speech coming tonight, and I'm thinking about maybe doing it live so that we could listen together. And it dovetails, it really does, with the psychological operations training when you can identify, the Barnum effect, or you can identify things like the negativity bias, or you can look and see tu quoque and special pleading, all of these different things that the media uses and that politicians use to make you believe things that are not true. This is why I've always asked folks, please come to the psychological operations training and understand this so that you can make educated decisions, not indoctrinated ones. And that's why I brought this up, because it's a tough thing. It's one of the hardest things to deal with, I should say. When you start psychological operations training, I was very young when I did, you start to see all sorts of fallacies that you've believed your whole life. And you start to really question your entire existence for a while. I mean, it's a tough thing when you can see how easily it's done. And now, which it's so different now than it was back in the late 80s and 90s when I was in the training, with the advent of Twitter, with the advent of Facebook, and these little sound bites that influence people so much. If you don't have these tools, you're going to be absolutely powerless on this battlefield. So we would love to have you there, but I do understand that with the way life is, that sometimes every dime counts, and I don't blame anyone for not participating. I never will. But do understand the situation in Venezuela is rife with psychological operations. Calling for free and fair elections when you're creating duress, when you're creating stress in the population, is literally the definition of illogic. So we will leave it there. Like, share, subscribe.